Hello everyone, my name is Asgard Champion 03 and welcome back to Monster Hunter World. Now, this video is going to be a little different, alright? Instead of playing Trinity, you know, the girl we all know and love, or as my friend Dusty says, the bone slut. Dude, seriously, come on. I'm going to show you a little bit about Asgard, alright? He is a level 13 hunter rank, which means I can go on the more dangerous and more difficult, or not more dangerous and more difficult, but the more powerful monster missions. Now, I am going to be making a video of Trinity right after this. This is just, you know, a nice little a learning thing, you know what I mean? Basically, it's going to be for... I'm going to show you guys, you know, what Trinity is building up to fight, what Trinity is building up to getting to. You know, basically what she is, or what I'm trying to get her to, which is all these monsters that I'm going to be fighting. But, sadly, my Trinity doesn't have the luxury of having the Great Sword. The Great Sword is a very powerful weapon. It's meant for smashing your opponent to nothingness, whereas the gun lance that Trinity uses is meant for more or less poking the target until they die. And as my friend Baja has pointed out, the gun lance always does a fixed set of damage. Now what that means is that no matter where I hit it, it's always going to do this much damage. Like if I hit its armored spot, like say that its leg is armored, if it does 17 damage, that's how much damage it's going to do every single time to that spot. Now, if you do the explosion, which you guys know, right when I stab the gun lance into something and then it ejects a blade that spins around, you just hear a and then you just hear a boom, that will always do a certain number of damage. Now, pretty much, this is what you know you can do in the game. You can talk to this guy or the botanical researcher, and you can grow your own supplies, such as herbs and honey, which is meant for healing potions and mega potions. You can talk to this guy to get the ecological research. If you talk to him, he will basically tell you everything about the monster that you know this far. For instance, the Great Yagras. I know where its weak points is, I know what it gives, and what it's weak to. Same with the Kuluyaku, the Puki Puki, and the Barith, and the Giant Fishy. But these are all the animals that... Basically, Trinity has gone up against monsters up to this point. Up to the Giant Fish, which is a Piscean Wyvern, which means it's more of the aquatic creature, whereas its elder counterpart is another Piscean Wyvern, but it's a lava fish. I'll explain, you know, well actually, I'll explain this anyway. All of these creatures are called wyverns, but they are a different form of wyvern. For instance, the Fang Wyvern means he mainly relies on bites. The Bird Wyvern, they mainly rely on talons and scratching. Another Bird Wyvern, or I don't really know what the Bird Wyvern or Fang Wyvern really mean. All I know is that with the Fang Wyvern, they mainly rely on biting, whereas the Bird Wyvern, I'm not really sure the difference between them. I think they more or less, I think they're just called Bird Wyverns because they resemble birds mostly. Then there's the Brute Wyvern, which mainly relies on brute strength and just smashing you to nothing. Then there's the Piscean Wyvern, which will get you, or get your character wet, which means its stamina will drain fast as all hell. Then there's another Fanged Wyvern, that one actually relies on biting, but the Tobikadashi, which is going to be in my next video of Trinity, if you guys, well, actually, you guys, I'm telling you guys anyway. This is the Fanged Wyvern, known as the Tobikadashi. It mainly relies on electrocuting the target, applying a debuff called like Lightning Blight or Thunder Blight or something like that. But basically what happens is that when it hits you with a lightning attack, it will hit you with like Thunder Blight, which means its next lightning attack will stun you. Then there's the Anjanath, which is another brute wyvern. But this one is a kind of a 50-50 monster. It's a brute wyvern, and then it's also, I guess it would kind of be a fang wyvern at the same time, because it relies a lot on its bites, but it also relies on brute strength to just smash you. Now, I'm going to say this now in case if I already didn't, because I don't know if I did or didn't. So, if you guys don't really want to watch this video, by all means, skip over this and watch the next episode of Trinity's, adventures and stuff like that. That's actually a good name. I'm gonna put that in there. Monster Hunter, or no, I'll just say Monster Hunter World Zapping Gecko. That's literally the title of the next video. But the Anjanath is a brute wyvern. The Rathian is a flying wyvern, which means it will rely on its wings and the ability to get up high in order to deal damage. The Tetsuyaku is another bird wyvern. Now, I think what that means is that they rely mainly on their claws and talons, mainly relying on scratching, because that's what the Tetsuyaku relies on. Then there's the Palmulu, the flying wyvern, which is another one that mainly relies on being up in the air. Interesting thing is that for the Palmulu and the Tetsuyaku, their only weakness is their head. Everywhere else is armored. The Rathian, there are creatures in this game that look somewhat similar to each other. For instance, there's the Rathian and then the Rathalos, or the Rathalos. The Rathian is called, as you can read there in the characteristics, the wyvern known as the Queens of the Land. Terrestrial predators, they overpower prey with their venomous tails and powerful legs. Now, these ones I mainly find in the Wildspire Waste, but you can find them in the Ancient Forest. Same goes for the Rathalos. You can find them in the Wildspire Waste, but they're mainly going to be in the Ancient Forest. Now, the different characteristics between the Rathian and the Rathalos. The Rathian is a green with a white belly, or basically has green scales but with a white belly. Whereas the Rathalos is red but with a yellow belly. Yes, you yellow belly. And where the Rathian is called Queen of the Land, mainly because it lands on the ground and it will do everything in its power to tackle you. It will tackle you, it will scratch at you, but it mainly relies on its poison aspect of its fighting. Whereas the Rathalos mainly relies on the fire aspect of its fighting, where it will fly up into the air, go into like a sentry mode, and basically become a fire turret, which unless you're using a long-range weapon, that's going to be kind of fun. Palmulu, another flying one. It will absorb or take a deep breath and then store air in its neck, which will give it increased armor and increased attack. Then there's the Great Gyros, another fanged wyvern. This thing is, I call it the snake leopard, because it has the body of a leopard, it even has the call of a leopard, but it has the head of a snake. But this thing is all about paralyzing. It doesn't really apply a debuff, but it will spit at you, which will instantly paralyze you, and it doesn't matter who gets hit by it, it will paralyze you. For instance, a Radabon, which is another one of the predators of the same area as the Great Gyros. Sorry about that. Which is another predator of the Great Gyros. Which is another monster of the area with the Great Gyros in it, known as the Rotten Vale. Even if the Radabon gets hit by the Great Gyros spit, the Radabon will be paralyzed. There's no doubt about it. Same goes for the Odogaron, which is the apex predator of the Rotten Vale. Then there's the Legania, which is a... from that picture, makes it look like a butterfly, but it is very much not. It is another flying wyvern that applies ice to you. Kind of like with the giant fish, it applies an ice, and when the ice is applied to you, it means ice abilities that it does will do more damage to you, and your stamina consumption will be tripled. These things, very difficult, well, not that difficult to kill, well, once you've killed a couple of them, they're not that hard to kill, but once, you know, your first one, that's going to be hell, because the only reason why my character Trinity is having, you know, somewhat of an easy time killing all these monsters is because on this character, I've already killed dozens of them. I'm letting you all know that now if y'all are still watching this video. Then there's the Odogaron. I call it the Red Wolf because it, well, looks like a giant wolf. And it actually applies... it applies a bleed effect with its front claws. And the only way to get rid of the bleed effect, which means the more you move, the more damage you do to yourself. The only way to get rid of the bleed effect is to sheath your weapon, crouch down, and just start walking away. But, you know, if you're walking, it's going to take a longer time to get rid of that. But if you're standing still, you're going to have a much more capable time. And in all honesty, I would rather go up against the Anjanath, known as the T-Rex of the forest, versus the Wolf of the Rotten Vale. I would much rather go up against the Anjanath because, well, since this character uses the Great Sword, it's slow and powerful, just like the Anjanath is. So, you know, it's kind of an even fight there, and it's who can outdamage who. Whereas the Odogaron is quick and agile. It's not very durable, but it's fast. And that's where my friend Baja has an easy time with it because he uses the dual daggers, or the dual blades, which, like the Odogaron, is quick. Doesn't do a lot of damage, but it's quick. So he can get in a lot of medium hits in quick succession, where I can only get in one powerful hit every now and then. Then there's the Rathalos, apex predator of the ancient forest, also known as the King of the Skies, a terrible wyvern that descends upon invaders, attacking with poison claws and fiery breath. Now, both the Rathalos and Rathian both have fire breathing. They can both breathe fire, and they both have poison talons and poison tail. But the Rathalos mainly relies, like I've said earlier, on its fire abilities, whereas the Rathian relies on its poison claws and its tail. Then there's the Diablos here. I don't understand why they call him a flying wyvern. I see him being more of a brute wyvern, because he doesn't fly. I'm not sure that he even can. But he's the apex predator of the Wildspire Waste. Here in a minute I'll show you all the apex predators of each location. He's the apex predator of the Wildspire Waste. He mainly relies on going underground and then appearing below you. You can defend against it, it's just kind of difficult, and even if you do defend against it, it will pack quite a fucking hit. But otherwise, all you really have to do in order to defeat this beast is break its two very large front horns. If you do that, the whole fight will be way easier. But the main way to do that is to lure it into ramming into a stone pillar, which is all over the Wildspire Waste. You have to lure it into ramming a stone pillar, and once it does, it will get the horn stuck in the pillar, giving you free hits to the horns. This thing, known as the Karin, is an Elder Dragon. And yes, it was difficult to kill the first time. The only way to kill this thing is to break its horn, and when you do break its horn, well, okay, I'm gonna say my personal things on this. I hate fighting this thing, because if you do break its horn, its entire body becomes completely armored, and the only place you can hit it is on its back. And since it's on all fours and taller than you, it's nearly impossible to hit it. So you have to get above it and then slam down, which you guys have seen me do on Trinity, but with a gun lance. If you do it with a great sword, it's much more of a powerful hit. But me and Baja have dubbed this thing the Lightning Unicorn, mainly because it's a horse, or it's a horse-like creature with a giant lightning horn right on top of its face. As you can see right there, it looks like a dragon unicorn. It's that simple. But there are a handful of Elder Dragons in this game. Kharon is just one of them. There's also Zorah Magdaros and Diablos, or not Diablos. There's Zorah Magdaros, Nergigante, and Kharon. Those are the 3 Elder Dragons that I know of. For all I know, there could be a hell of a lot more. But the way that the Kharon is an Elder Dragon is because it's not all that durable. It just packs one hell of a hit. It can take somewhat of it's got medium armor, but very high damage output. Because it also can apply Lightning Blight like the Tobi Kadashi. So if it hits you once with lightning, you're then hit with Lightning Blight, and means that the next hit that it does to you is going to stun you. Now, you can't blind and you can't shock trap an Elder Dragon. I don't care who says what. I've tried everything in order to immobilize an Elder Dragon, and nothing has worked. So far, the only thing that has worked, to my knowledge, is the Flash Fly trap for the Palico, which at one point did, blind Nergigante, but he immediately recovered. So it pretty much allowed me to get 2 free hits in, and then he was already back up. Zorah Magdaros, Elder Dragon, has a giant volcano on its back. You guys have seen it. It was in the first video of Monster Hunter. It was that giant freaking thing that beached my boat, or beached my ship. The Dodogama is basically the more powerful and cooler cousin to the Yagras and the Gyros, or to the Great Yagras and the Great Gyros. The Dodogama scoops up minerals with its humongous bottom jaw, and then it will, as it says here, a monster that devours rocks with it as its primary diet. The crystals it devours mix with its saliva to produce explosive minerals that it can spit at its enemies. So it literally becomes a moving cannon. If it eats, it can then become a rocket launcher and just start spewing rocket balls at you, or explosive balls at you. And it will hurt. It will freaking hurt. Even if you have like fire resistance, it doesn't matter. You can have the best fire armor in this game, and that will still hit you, and it will still hurt, because it's not fire, it's an explosion, which means you're going to have blast resistance rather as fire resistance. That's pretty much it for this one, although its weak points are its jaw, so you can break its jaw, which means it will eat less and then spit less. And you can break its legs, and I think you can hurt it. I think you can break its stomach. I don't know. Let me check. You can break or you can sever its tail, and you can break its head, and you can break its legs. Although its torso or its giant gut is out of the picture. It's out of the question. Don't even try. But this one is only in the Elder Recesses on the high rank. Elder Recesses is basically the area of, well, all the monsters I've fought, but on crack. Like the Pink Rathian, same thing as its little cousin counterpart or little sister counterpart. The Pink Rathian has more potent poison and does more damage and is just bigger. It's not really tankier. It's just it does a hell of a lot more damage. That's pretty much it. And it's pink! Yay! The Basil Gauss. Me and Baja have dubbed this thing the Bomber because it flies around and drops like these little egg-looking things from the bottom of its neck and the bottom of its tail, and they explode. It literally just flies around, dropping a payload, and just goes boom, 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 boom. And if you're caught in that explosion, it will hurt. The Lava Sith, or the Lava Scythe. Lava Fishy. This is what we call this thing, the Lava Fish. Because it's basically the lava form, if you were listening earlier. This is the lava counterpart to the giant fish that we find in the Wildspire Waste. Except this thing, when it goes down into the lava, it will then pop back up with another shell of lava on it. And it will harden over time. So you basically have to break its armor before it hardens. And if it hardens, you're not going to be able to deal damage to it. The Jurgen is another brute wyvern, although this one is a lot like the Radabon. What the Radabon does, or actually, I didn't explain the Radabon a lot. Hold on, let me go back. The Radabon basically is a giant brute bone wyvern, and it covers itself in bone, but it's extremely easy. You know, each area has their monster that is literally just so easy you kill it because you're bored. For instance, the Ancient Forest, it's the Great Yagras. For the Wildspire Waste, it's the Barith. For the Coral Highlands, it's the Tetsuyaku. For the Rotten Vale, it's the Radabon. That's pretty much it. You know, you have to break the bones on its legs and its face and its back. You just pretty much have to break all the bones on it in order to hurt it. Otherwise, it just has armor everywhere. But this thing can also curl up into a wheel and roll around, and it will stun you. Or it will do a charge-up smoke attack, which will put you to sleep, leaving you wide open to a very powerful hit. Now, the Jurgen pretty much does the exact same thing, except when it rolls up into a ball, it can deploy these little explosive balls. Or orbs, however you want to freaking call it. You can laugh if you want, but that's the truth. It rolls around, leaving explosive balls. If it thwaps its tail, which is basically it just literally does like a circular attack with its tail, it will deploy bombs. Pretty much this thing is all about bombs. It's the same thing. It's pretty much the exact same fight as the Radabon, except you know, more explosive. And you can't, I don't think you can break its back like you can with the Radabon. Then there's the Azure Rathalos, exactly like the other Rathalos, except faster and bigger and blue. And then there's Nergigante, which is an Elder Dragon. This one is actually the hunt that I'm currently on. If you'd like to see me fight the Elder Dragons, Karin and Nergigante, please leave down in the description or please leave in the comment section below, and I will, you know, try and fight them. Although the Karin, I would much rather fight two of them at the same time, and I have, over this thing. Because this thing is an Elder Dragon that appears when other Elder Dragons are in the vicinity. Its penchant for destruction is well documented. That just means it's very powerful, very fast, and hurts like a fucking bitch. Sorry for the swearing, but that's just my feelings toward this motherfucker. This thing sucks. Last night I got close to killing it, but then it got enraged because I followed it to its nest. When I followed it to its nest, it just started flying up and then dashing at me and dashing at me and dashing at me and just thwailing and just, you know, flailing and thwailing around all over the place. So it just became more powerful. Well, it didn't become more powerful, it just became faster. That's all they really do, actually, is when a monster gets the skull right next to its name, it's going to retreat to its nest to try to sleep it off and regenerate some of its health. When you wake it up, it will just become faster. Same damage output, same everything, it's just faster. Me and my friends, or me and my clan, call this the frenzy. Because they just become so fucking pissed that they literally just start flailing around and go into a frenzy. And it's completely ridiculous. So that's pretty much all of the knowledge I have on all the monsters up to the Nergigante point. Like I said, if you'd like to see me fight these monsters, or if you'd like to see, some gameplay of these monsters, please leave down in the comment section below of what monster you would like this character to fight. And he will go fight. Oh yeah, I also, before I do my outro, which I don't really have one, if you go on an expedition, which you've seen, you know that Trinity can do, these are all the areas: Wildspire Waste, Ancient Forest, Rotten Vale. But before you get to the Rotten Vale, you go to the Coral or Research Base. Basically, this is it in a row: Ancient Forest, Astra, Wildspire Waste, Coral Highlands, then Research Base, or Research Base, then Coral Highlands, then Rotten Vale, then Elder Recesses. But the only way you can access Elder Recesses is in high rank, which means everything there basically has the exact same health level, but they just do a hell of a lot more damage. That's pretty much it. Like if I went to fight a Tetsuyaku in the Coral Highlands but on high rank, only difference between that fight is that it just does more damage. Same goes for the Great Yagras and the Ancient Forest. I've literally been annihilated by a Great Yagras. It was not fun. I did not stop hearing about how I died to a giant iguana for about 3 hours. It freaking sucked. But the Research Base, you can actually do stuff that you can't do here in Astra. Like set out Tail Rider safaris, which, speaking of which, I have to go check on that. That's pretty much it. Coral Highlands, beautiful area. Rotten Vale, one of my favorites, even though it's one of the most deadly. Wildspire Waste, pretty much my favorite area out of this entire game has to be Elder Recesses. I like the way it looks, I love the feel of it, although just like every other area, it has its downsides. If you'd like to know those downsides, please leave down in the comment section below. Actually, you know what? Don't leave that down in the comment section below. You're gonna see it anyway. But on this character, if you'd like to see this character known as Asgard, this beautiful man, if you'd like to see him fight any of those creatures that I described, ranging from Nergigante to the Great Yagras, if you'd like to see me fight anything that I have discovered thus far, please leave down in the comment section below, and I will make a video about me fighting that said creature. But with all that being said, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, please... you know what? I'm going to do something different. If you liked this video, please slash that like button with an axe. No. Yeah. You know what? Jacksepticeye's got his thing. He goes smash that like button in the face like a boss. Slash that like button with an axe. Screw it. Slash it with an axe. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, slash the like button with an axe. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. I have a lot of fun on this channel. I know, well, yeah, I have a lot of fun. I have an honest blast. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.